my dear ones. Welcome. Hello. Welcome to another self-love sermon. Once you're here, let me know. It's nice to be here for another Tuesday evening in community with others. Helps me feel less alone. Even better when you drop a comment letting me know you're with us, letting me know your reflections from the visualizations and meditations we do together, your answers to the questions I ask, and just helping me and anyone else who is here know that we are not alone, We are all in this together, on this self-love journey, wherever you are on the journey. Maybe you're just coming around to realizing it should be something you value, self-love, self-care. Hi, Micah. Good to see you. Thanks for being with me tonight. So whether you're new to self-care, self-love, or whether you're like a veteran and the journey keeps ebbing and flowing, waxing and waning, and you're riding the waves, or somewhere in between, you are welcome here. You are welcome on this journey with all of us, self-love sermons. All right, who's with me? Hello, precious ones. Tonight you will need your candle as always and some matches. Maybe grab a bowl because we're going to burn some stuff, and some paper. Or, you could use your journal, but you're going to be burning some paper, so you might want to grab some blank paper, 2 or 3 sheets of paper, something to write with. It is the new moon this evening in Capricorn, first new moon of 2021. So we're gonna make this part January of pleasure training, part self-love sermon, part new moon ritual, a little bit of journaling and unpacking, a little bit of community, a little bit of visualization, because the new moon is the point in the moon cycle to manifest our deepest desires. And we're talking tonight about shame and desire, and shame and pleasure, and how all of these pieces fit together. So if you're joining me for the first time, my name is Ellen Gilbert, and I'm a Divine Feminine Self-Love Coach. Divine Feminine Self-Love prioritizes pleasure, rest, and community without any shame. And one of my words for 2021 is shameless. So it fits in well with the theme of tonight's sermon. And I go live here every Tuesday at this time, 8 p.m. Eastern, on Facebook and Instagram. And I just love being with all of you. I love sharing the journey and holding space and guiding meditations and embodiment practices, and just sharing what I know, all right, and what I'm learning. So if you're with us, if that sounds good, then you're very welcome, and thank you. If you haven't signed up for January of Pleasure yet, I highly recommend it. This is the free challenge we've got going on right now. All month in January, we are creating sustainable self-care practices to carry us through this entire year. So if you don't know what a pleasure practice is, go back and watch last week's sermon on why you should start a pleasure practice. And tonight will be the continuation of that conversation, and as I said, bringing in our resistance to pleasure, the shame and guilt we might feel around pleasure, the shadow side of pleasure. And it's quite fitting, right? Because it's a new moon. So we're seeing either the shadow side of the moon, the dark side of the moon, or we just can't even find her in the sky tonight. And what kind of feelings and emotions does that bring up for you? Yeah, the shadow side can be uncomfortable. It can be hard to look at, hard to work with. We can feel really resistant. But we're going to unpack all of that here tonight, how to work with resistance in the body, in the nervous system, why, luckily our brains and neuroplasticity teach us that change is possible. We can open, we can expand, we can receive good things. And you, my dear, are worthy of good things. Good things being your New Year's resolutions, your goals, the dreams you have for your career, for your family, you know, for love. Good things are abundance and feeling good in your body. And that's where pleasure comes in. Creating a pleasure practice sets us up to receive the even bigger blessings. So, if a pleasure practice is something small you do every day, like maybe having a little chocolate or a nice mindful cup of tea, or really relishing, the feeling of cuddling up to your partner, then when we're able to receive that with full body presence and mindfulness, imagine what is that training our brain, our nervous systems, our bodies, our hearts to expand and open to on an even greater scale when it comes to these huge blessings that the universe wants to bestow upon us. So, all month we're talking about pleasure, and I am here for it. All right, so hopefully you've got your paper and your candle, and if not, that's okay. You can always just sit in reflection when we do the journaling bit. But go ahead and sign up for January of Pleasure. We've got another Friday night circle at 8 p.m. Eastern this week. It's going to be so, so good. And if you sign up for January of Pleasure, you'll get $50 off my signature group program, Womanifest. I'm going to share that link as well on the Facebook chat. Okay, so Womanifest, we're talking about divine feminine self-love and law of attraction. Next week's self-love sermon, we're going to really go into how pleasure aligns with law of attraction. How do we receive? How do we expand in order to take in the blessings? But today is really like that first hurdle, that first block that we come up against so often in our pleasure journey, which is resistance and shame. Okay? Hey Claire, welcome. Hey Christy, thanks for the love. I'm glad you're here. I love you too, darling. Oh. And Micah's ready to burn some shit. I knew you would be. You're my witch, and I love it. Okay. So I hope you will sign up for Womanifest. It's going to be so much fun. A little check-in here today. What gave you pleasure today, or what pleased you today? Yeah, maybe it was, the look in your child's face. Maybe it was taking your dog for a walk. What was it? What pleased you today? Let's share it. Let's share our joy and our abundance, and let's normalize talking about our pleasure. What gives you pleasure today? Yeah. And then once you have it, I'm curious, maybe just hold it in your heart. How could you have opened and softened to receive a little bit more of that pleasure? If you were to put yourself back in that experience, how might you have loosened up a little bit more, dropped the resistance and the defensiveness just a little bit more in order to take it in? And what were the ways, and this is just for your heart, what were the ways that you put up that resistance without judgment? Don't judge your resistance. It can be the hardest part of this journey. Witnessing the resistance and the contraction without saying, oh, I must be such a bad person. I can't even accept good things. Well, no, no, no. This is very natural. We can work with this. But when you judge yourself, you contract further. Yeah. Oh, beautiful, Claire. Going for a walk at sunset, talking to our sweet mama on the phone. That sounds lovely, Claire. Micah cuddling with my dog. Beautiful. Christy, connected again with Vital Voices and have my closest friend I hadn't seen in a long time joined my class. Yay, virtual world. I know. And now I get to see you here, which is just such a blessing, Christy. Also, congrats on the opportunity I just saw you got as I was logging on. I'm so proud of you, dear one. I love this. The pleasure has ripple effects, doesn't it? When you share it here, I feel it. We all feel it connected in this community. So beautiful. I had many moments of pleasure. I found a little bit of chocolate that I had around 3 o'clock, which was just so lovely. I had a call with my two best friends who are also entrepreneurs for the new moon. We meet every month and share our intentions. That was so beautiful today. Maybe I could have opened a little bit more to that had I not been so worried about time, because I did feel a bit of resistance in guarding my time. So that would be my answer to that part two. Thank you for sharing, beautiful souls. All right, tonight is the new moon, as I said, new moon in Capricorn, so that is cardinal earth energy, very structured energy, and this is as it relates with the new moon to our dreams, our emotions, our deep desires, so it's perfect for tonight's talk. I am going to lead us in a little visualization to help us really drop in and feel, I say put on the skin of your future self. Put on, the clothes and the shoes of the version of yourself that is receiving these deep, deep desires. Okay? But first, let's light our candle. You're definitely going to need the element of fire tonight. We're going to burn some stuff, so as you light your candle, set your intention in your heart for the next 40 minutes or so here with us, or as long as you're able to stay. How do you want to feel in your body? Holding all of your intentions in my heart, past, present, and future. Honoring them as beautiful and worthy. Saying they belong. And so it is. It already is. It's on its way. The power of intention. Yes, Micah needs structure. Ugh, I feel that. Don't you just love a good structure? Something so relieving about it. Beautiful. Okay. Well, as you are ready, as you are willing and courageous, let's drop into our bodies together, beautiful ones. So maybe finding the feet flat on the floor. Feeling the seat with the support below, that animate earth below you, supporting you, holding you up, sending you divine feminine love and grace. Closing the eyes if that's all right. Let's take some deep breaths in through the nose and let it go. In again. And let it go. Use this last one however you need to use it. In and out. Feeling the entire outline of your body here. Letting the body now breathe itself. Resting and easing into this experience. Or at least to your desire to enjoy this experience. How are you feeling? Witnessing and bowing to any contraction. With every breath in, inviting a bit more ease. a bit more softness. Where your breath and awareness go, bringing space, bringing relaxation, sending the breath to any nooks and crannies, dark corners that need a little extra love tonight. First, I invite you to bring to mind a goal that you have for 2021. And this isn't a trick question. And now see yourself achieving this goal. Standing on that stage, receiving that diploma, meeting that person, whatever it is. Put yourself in their shoes, the shoes of your future self. Get really curious. What do they see? What are they wearing? What do they smell? What do they hear? What sounds? If there's taste involved, what do they taste? And what do they feel? Either through sensory touch or emotionally. What does it feel like to be achieving this huge goal you set for yourself? Invite those feelings in to your heart, to your body. Notice what happens. Do you sense any resistance? Just note it with compassion to come back to later with curiosity. And staying in the visualization space, but letting go of that particular vision. Let's take a deep breath to clear. Let it go. And now, dear one, I invite you to see yourself in 2021 receiving pleasure. Whatever that phrase evokes for you, see yourself receiving pleasure. And really get into it. Put yourself in your own skin, in your own shoes. What are you doing? What are you wearing? Even just seeing yourself in this scenario, what comes up? Excitement, shame, maybe a little bit of both. No judgment. Get really detailed on this scene just as you did before with the scents, the tastes. How would it feel to allow yourself to receive pleasure in this way? Can you invite those feelings in now? Right here, into your body, your nervous system, your heart. And what comes up as you do? And what's the difference between the first visualization and the second one? Take another deep breath in and let it go. Integrating the experience, taking all the time you need before gently opening the eyes and returning to us. Hello, precious ones. Take all the time you need, easing back in, back to the here and now. You know, I do this visualization, which isn't even the right word, because it's really an embodiment exercise for so many reasons. First of all, goal setting without core desired feelings, as Danielle Laporte calls them. Goal setting without asking yourself how you want to feel just isn't quite the same, because we might get the goal and then not feel the way that we intended, you know? So using core desired feelings can really help paint a fuller, brighter picture and also help us follow the feelings to the goal rather than vice versa. Oh, when I get this promotion, I'll feel happy. No, what makes you happy right now? Yeah? I'd love to hear your experience if you feel comfortable sharing in the chat, dear one. Any reflections that come up, like what were the differences between the two visions? You know, what were the different feelings in achieving your goals versus receiving pleasure? Or were they the same? Maybe one was more intense. What resistance came up? Whatever you want to say about the visualization is totally welcome here. I think that creating a pleasure practice can be so useful for our long-term dreams because it is that breadcrumb trail of this feels like this. I do or I don't want to feel that way, you know? And then you keep taking it one step at a time until you reach that goal. And also, whatever feelings you're desiring, dear one, you can feel them right now. You have this body and this nervous system. You are capable of inviting in the emotions you want to feel, the sensations you want to feel at any time. I think that's such a freeing realization. You know, it doesn't have to be external. We can nurture ourselves and find fulfillment right here. So, beautiful. Thank you for allowing me to guide that. Okay, the topic of tonight, working with pleasure and shame and resistance. So if you felt some resistance in that visualization, you're not alone. Maybe it was easy to visualize yourself achieving the goal, but visualizing yourself receiving pleasure brought up feelings of shame and resistance and judgment. Okay? And that's not by accident, that's by design. We've been taught, especially as women, to be shameful of what we desire. So we get very conflicting messages, you know. And yeah, we're going to dive into those messages, and we're going to dive into how to work with the shame. And so, if you've ever felt guilty about getting something you really wanted, or maybe you dropped a little money on yourself and then you were like, oh my God, this is buyer's remorse. But really, when you dug in a little bit, you were like, I could afford that thing. Why did I feel so bad? Or, if you ever felt like you didn't deserve a good thing that came along, maybe a partner or a career change, maybe that bigger house, whatever it was that you were desiring and you got it, maybe you felt like you didn't deserve it, or that it made you a bad person for either wanting it or forgetting it. This is for you. Yeah. So, the three things to keep in mind tonight in this talk, but also when working with shame and resistance: stay curious, number one. Remember, curiosity is that bridge to compassion, because when we understand more, we can have more compassion. And curiosity is that bridge. So, number one, stay curious. Number two, stay open. Allow your visualizations, allow whatever thoughts come to come without identifying with them, and stay compassionate. Yeah. Have compassion for this shame and resistance that arises on this journey. Even maybe even self-caring brings up shame for you, or you think it's selfish. You've been taught that any focus on the self is bad. And now we're talking about pleasure, dear Lord. Like, that's a whole other thing. Stay compassionate, stay open, stay curious, because we want these life-giving, life-affirming blessings, and the universe, whatever you believe in, there's an energetic flow that wants to bestow them on you. And so often what's in the way is our own self-sabotage. That might look like imposter syndrome, inner critic, ego, resistance, shame, and judgment. They're all really the same. Or contraction felt in the body would be the perfect example of that. I'm going to check in with the chat. Micah says, the first vision felt accomplished, proud, excited, not necessarily pleasure. Very from the neck up experience. Interesting. The second one was more about being relaxed, embodied, and present. Oh my God, that's such a great reflection. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, we're taught it's okay to be up here. It's okay to have these, strategic plans, especially about our career or something like da, 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 da. Yeah, set those goals. That's celebrated. But from the neck down, when we talk about pleasure, hell no. We are severed from our body. We are completely severed. This connection is severed from a young age, and it's on purpose. So, I'm so glad you were able to drop into that second visualization and feel it in the body. It's so beautiful, Micah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. All right. But so let's start with resistance and then we'll move into pleasure. Okay. And we're going to have a little bit of journaling, a little bit of ritual. It's going to be great. So, why do we resist pleasure? Last week we talked a lot about shame around sex. And if you weren't here or haven't seen that one, check it out because it was really interesting conversation. But first of all, why are we resistant? Like, without the shame, what other reason could we have for being resistant to pleasure? I think it's this basic fear of change, always. with resistance. That's like the first flag that gets thrown is like, no, the ego, the lower brain, whatever you call it, says, no, I'm happy where I am, thank you. You know, it might not be perfect, but I am comfortable here and I know it. And so that's the fear of change. Our body loves homeostasis. We fear what we don't know. And change requires more effort and energy in the beginning. It requires different parts of the brain, and to make that shift is really taxing. So, our nervous system, our brain might say, like, no, actually, I lied. I don't really want that thing that I said I wanted, just as you're getting really close to achieving it. So, that's one reason we resist. We also don't know how to be the version of ourselves that gets what they want. I think this is a really interesting one, especially when it comes to those goals and those like big dreams and desires. We're so identified with the person that wants those things that we don't know how to be the person that gets them. So this could show up as fear of success. Yeah, like, more money, more problems, more people I could potentially piss off. I don't want to fail publicly. I don't want to be humiliated. That fear of separation that we've talked about so much here. There's so much fear, and our ego ultimately is trying to keep us safe. It's the same on this small scale with pleasure. If we're not accustomed to receiving it or to feeling good in our bodies, it can feel really foreign and really terrifying, actually. There can be a real tensing, and you've probably experienced this, at some point in your life. There can actually be more tensing, more resisting to actually receiving the good things because we're like, I don't know what this experience is. I've never felt this before. Yeah. So we don't know how to receive it. And when we get focused on the goal instead of the core desired feelings, like Micah said, it's a real neck up experience. So pleasure flips that script and can train us to ask, what do I like? What do I not like? What do I really want? And it actually trains you to receive that thing that you want. So, another reason we resist pleasure is because it's not really our pleasure. Maybe we've been told that we should want certain things. We've been given these images of, the ultimate life or, that celebrity life or all the reality TV shows with, ridiculously oversized houses. And we're like, oh, that's what I want. When I get that, I'll have made it. And we don't even check in with our body. Like, isn't that wild? We're shown what we should want instead of answering that question for ourselves. And this is obviously because of capitalism, because of these industries that are just out of control with their marketing spending to create, desires we didn't even know we had and maybe we didn't have. But we've been shown it so many times, we think, okay, well, if I'm going to have to ask what I want, it's easier to just say that thing there. Um, and so this is the question my clients hate the most because I always ask them, what do you want? What do you want? If you're not clear on that, how are you going to ask for it? Either from others around you, or from the universe, from yourself. How are you going to ask it of your time and your money, the way you spend your resources? And if it's subconscious, then that really becomes a shadow. Because if we're telling ourselves, I'm not worthy, or I don't really care, if we're sending these messages in some way, that energetic boomerang comes back around, doesn't it? In some way, shape, or form. And maybe the way that comes back around for you in this season is noticing, I can't receive pleasure. I don't know what's going on. My body perceives it as pain. I get so focused on the judgment or the resistance. this is a shadow of something maybe deeper going on. So getting clear on what we want and what we like, not just what we want, but how we like it, can be a really healing experience. Yeah, because the pleasure is hopefully leading to these bigger goals and desires, and in fact, this life that you could be leading. So if you've ever done a future self visualization, um, or next time you do it, ask them about their pleasure practice. Ask them about what pleases them and maybe use that to integrate now. So, are also a reason we resist. So if these aren't even the things that please us, then we have to ask ourselves, like, have my desires changed? I think we don't give ourselves enough permission for our wants to change. But you're a cyclical being, whoever you are, whatever body you have, you're in some sort of cycle right now. And nature tells us that everything is always shifting and changing. And guess what? So can our minds. So can what we like. So can what we want. These things are allowed to change. So give yourself permission for your pleasure to change as well. And stay curious, remember? Stay curious, stay open, stay compassionate. We're riding those waves. We are like on this journey, figuring out what is going on and not attaching to any of the answers. Okay? So, we resist shifting biologically, as I said, because our lower brain, our nervous system, it's trying to protect us, that ego again. So my favorite way to work with this kind of resistance is to come into my higher self instead of the lower self. And there's nothing wrong with the lower self, right? It's a part of us, it's a part of our human evolution, and it has kept us so safe. But when we choose instead to contact this like witness part of ourselves, the part that has no fear, the part that has our best interest at heart, and if you don't know that higher self yet, you can cultivate a relationship and a real awareness of, am I coming at this from higher self or lower self? Yeah. And my favorite way to do this is to thank my ego for trying to protect me. And you can even think of it as the parts of the brain, the the reptilian brain, you know, and the mammalian brain, all these parts. And you can even think of your ancestors evolving slowly over time, having carrying so much fear and so much trauma to produce you, this latest, greatest version of your ancestry. And you can thank them, like, wow, thank you for all you went through so that I can have this protective built in system, like just be amazed at that. And then say, and I'm going to take it from here. I being the higher self. I've got it. I've got this. I've got a little more bird's eye view, maybe, a fuller picture as the higher self. I've got more access to the more recently evolved part of the brain, and I can regulate a little bit better these intense experiences that come through. Yeah, so that's a great way to work with shame when it comes up as resistance, contraction, fear, is to just have that gratitude and say, I'm going to take it from here. Yeah. All right. And then from an embodied perspective, as we've said, the body tenses up. It can come into this shape of heart protection. You can start to notice this in your working life. When are your shoulders coming around? When is your neck going in like a turtle? When are you protecting the heart, curving the spine? Crouching down, making yourself smaller, making yourself hidden. Um, and that's an evolutionary response, clearly, yeah, of protection. And then try instead, as we've done together, we'll do it. I mean, it always helps to practice this. Try instead bringing the shoulders back. So heart open, heart unprotected. Yeah, and I like to say heart over womb, third eye over heart. Get everything in alignment and take some breaths. It can feel really vulnerable to be in this position, to have that open heart. That's the receptivity. This is like the most receptive embodied pose we can have. You can even bring your arms out a little bit behind you, head up. How does that feel? Feels really good in my upper back. But it feels very receptive. I feel this like light coming in. I feel that the universe is benevolent. They actually say that when we are like on a walk outside and our eyes are more down, that it's more of a like fight or flight kind of like protection. But when we lift our gaze to the horizon and above, when we look at the stars, when we look at the sunset, it actually shifts our chemistry that's happening, and instead of being in that flight or fight, we're more in our parasympathetic, we're more like reflective and curious and expansive, and we have more of a sense of ease and safety. And so that gives us the evolutionary capacity to dream and to, care for all beings everywhere. So lift your eyes to the horizon. You don't have to look down all the time. I mean, it works wonders, and so does a receptive smile, a soft smile that can just go so, so far. Um, okay, so hopefully you're feeling more receptive, more heart open, and now you're ready to talk about shame. So, yeah. Ugh. And I'm not going to get too much into sexual shame again because we had a great talk on that last week and it was fantastic. I will say that I've been working with this idea and I give this question to you. As long as sex is, obviously consensual, there's no weird power dynamics, no one's getting hurt. Um, and hopefully everyone's receiving pleasure, then I want you to ask yourself, what is inherently bad or shameful about sex? you know if things are protected, if you could guarantee there'd be no unwanted pregnancies, etc., all these things, what is the point of sexual shame? And this question can be really radical for us to reflect on, especially if we've been harmed, um, to think that sex is bad and wrong and dirty and shameful. And I just want to say, like, parents all the time say, oh, I don't want my kids to lose their innocence. If you don't want your kids to lose their innocence, don't teach them body shame. Don't teach them that there's anything shameful about what is natural right here, and they won't lose their innocence. Uh, and make no mistake, sexual shame is body shame, because body shame is shame around our natural processes, our natural functions, our natural desires. Talking about desire tonight, um, as well as the shame around how we look and all of that as well. So it's one and the same, and body shame and a healthy, healed sex life, sexual relationship to self, they can't coexist, can they? It's sort of like we have to choose. Uh, and and tonight we're gonna burn our body shame. But let's start here. So I want you to get your piece of paper and write down um, your shame story. I'm going to give you like a couple minutes. So maybe it's making a list of everything you've believed was shameful. And this could be not in your life or your body, but just the world. Like, what were you taught was shameful, dirty, wrong, sinful? Maybe you were raised in a really, open minded family, but there were still probably some stories that you learned, maybe through media, etc., etc. Maybe it's belief. Maybe instead you want to make a list of all the beliefs you had about women who asked for and got what they wanted. This is something I had a client do recently. It was really challenging for her. Like, what do you believe about women who ask for what they want? Okay, so go. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Your shame story. Maybe bullets is the easiest for you. And if you need to like tear off a little bit of paper, because we're gonna need actually 3 pieces. So however you want to do this. Share as much or as little as you want with us. This can just be yours. What were you taught was shameful? Pay extra close attention to those things you were taught were shameful that you do currently in your adult life. Okay, hopefully you have some semblance of a list. That might have been really hard or really easy for you. Okay, so fold up your little list. And kind of hold the shame. Get in touch with, ooh, these words have energy, don't they? That's what Tantra teaches us, that words have vibrations, they have energy, they feel a certain way when we hear them, when we write them, when we see them, when we think them. So just hold it and get clear on that for a moment. And you guessed it, burn that list. It is a little ritual we do here. We burn it, the intention of releasing the shame story. Now, some of the things on the list, maybe you don't wish, to bring into your life. Maybe you're like, yeah, I can see the social function of that shame. I can see, how that's helpful. But we're burning it anyway. Because Brene Brown says the difference between guilt and shame is that we should feel guilt for the things we did that harmed others, the things that, we truly did wrong. And there's plenty of those things, for sure. But shame is an internalization of that guilt or an imagined sense of wrongdoing. Yeah, shame is when we get identified and we say, I'm a bad person. Shame is not healthy or helpful or functional. So we burn it all. Tonight we burn our shame story. Yeah. And we write a different one. We write a new one. Burn as much as you wish right now. Hopefully you have like somewhere to put it nearby. Don't burn down your house, please. Um, and take a moment as it's burning or after it's burned to just visualize those words turning to ash. Visualize those memories, those pieces of your shame story disintegrating, leaving your body, your memory, your experience, so that your innocence is restored. Yeah? Your sense of self-worth is restored. Beautiful one. Yes! Yeah, we can replace this harm, the pleasure equals harm story, with pleasure equals healing. Yeah, if we truly intend to, you know? Because if it's not hurting you or anyone else or Mama Earth, I say have at it. If you can find a real social reason why that shame should exist, like let's hear it, let's talk about it. But otherwise, let's invite this shamelessness in together. What a different world we could create. I feel this to be true. Love to hear what you think. And now let's talk about body shame. Because this was sort of an external, like shame out there, maybe. I want you to make another list. I'll give you a couple minutes of all the things you've been told that are wrong with your body. You know, it could be the way you look, the way you feel, or the things your body does, the natural functions of your body. So this could be more specific shame around sex or masturbation or period shame, memories, you know, from childhood, you know, the first time you were told that your naked body was shameful, whatever it is. There's a couple minutes for you to just free write and list those things. And maybe some of the things you're dealing with currently can be on that list as well. Not just the things from puberty that were hard, the things that have stuck with you and that are still coming up today. If this feels safe for you to do so. Otherwise, you can just do whatever feels right, draw a picture, breathe. And you can write it out as though it were true. Like periods are shameful, or periods are dirty, or sex is bad. Whatever the belief was that you were taught. My hair is too curly. I'm too tall. These were things I was told. Beautiful. Whenever you're ready, folding that up. Holding it for just a moment, feeling the vibrations of the words. For me, it feels dark and heavy. And like a bunch of shit I've believed for way too long. And when you're ready, dear ones, burn that list. And it's a ritual. So it doesn't mean all your body shame vanishes tonight, but it means we have an intention to release it. Yeah, maybe we can feel it disintegrate a bit here tonight. What if none of those things were ever true? There can be some grief, like, oh, I believed it for so long. And that's okay. But we release it here now. We write a different story. If you're not burning with us, you can always go back, cross out the phrase, and write why it's not true. Or write your new affirmation. So if it was, I am too fat, you could cross it out and say, I have a very healthy body. Or maybe you're reclaiming the word fat for yourself, which is beautiful. All right. Lovely. So healing. I want to read one thing for us before we close. I was going to have us do another list, but we're about at the hour. So maybe this one you can do on your own. So I am currently in the Artist's Way, and it's a fantastic creative course, creative, a spiritual path for higher creativity, it's called. Highly recommend it. Highly, highly, highly. And week 1, Julia Cameron talks about our inner censor, which is basically the inner critic, but for artists. And so much of what she is writing and is resonating with me from a self-love perspective. Because the premise of the book is to get the reader to have this like spiritual awakening, to realize that their creative potential is beautiful and is present and is going to help the world and is nothing to be ashamed of. So there's a lot of parallels. And I was thinking of this in the context of a pleasure practice, of course. And so now I invite you to do the same. This section of chapter 1 she calls Your Enemy Within, Core Negative Beliefs. She says, most of the time when we are blocked in an area of our life, it is because we feel safer that way. We may not be happy, but at least we know what we are, unhappy. Much fear of our own creativity is the fear of the unknown. And I'd say you can replace fear with pleasure here. If I'm fully creative, if I'm fully pleased, what will it mean? What will happen to me and to others? We have some pretty awful notion about what could happen. So rather than find out, we decide to stay blocked. This is seldom a conscious decision. It is more often an unconscious response to internalized negative beliefs. And this week we work at uncovering our negative beliefs and discarding them. Here's a list of commonly held negative beliefs. I can't be a successful, prolific, creative artist because, and then she lists them, and I'll just read some of them. And in terms of pleasure, in terms of getting what you want, in terms of going after and asking for what you desire, in terms of coming into more alignment with your best life, whatever that is, I invite you to examine, are these some negative beliefs that you have? Everyone will hate me. I will hurt my friends and family. I will go crazy. I will abandon my friends and family. I will upset my mother and father. I will be alone. I will be too angry. I will never earn any real money. I will get self-destructive and drink, drug, or sex myself to death. My lover will leave me. I will die. I will feel bad because I didn't deserve the success. It's too late. If I haven't become a fully functioning artist yet, I never will. And there are a few others. She says none of these need to be true. So none of these are necessarily true. They come from our parents, religion, culture, fearful friends. And each one of these beliefs reflects notions we have about what it means to be an artist, or in this case, what it means to be a woman, a person who asks for and gets what they want. Yeah. So she talks about how we can sweep these away and we can see that they're beliefs and not facts, and how we can actually replace these negative beliefs with positive alternatives. So that would be my invitation to you tonight, dear ones, or whenever you have a moment this week. You know, maybe you want to make a list of your negative beliefs about someone who asks for and gets what they want and replace those beliefs with affirmations. Some of my favorite affirmations for pleasure start with I deserve pleasure because, I am worthy of abundance because, and even my pleasure improves the world because. Yeah, because this is one of my favorite quotes from the theologian Howard Thurman. You've probably heard it. He says, don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive and go do that, because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Your pleasure, that breadcrumb trail of what you're desiring, this is from the divine. This is to bring you in alignment with your highest good. And your highest good can never be out of alignment with the world's highest good. Yeah? It will never hurt another person. Yeah? It will never hurt you. You don't have to fear it. You can trust that you belong to what you long for. And your true aligned desires are divine. There's nothing to be ashamed of. So, and they'll help restore you into a more whole, vibrant, loving version of yourself. And we're all going to benefit from that, baby. So, I would love to see you become even more whole, even more alive, even more radiant. And wouldn't that feel good? Maybe we can follow good feelings and trust that they are life affirming, life sustaining, life expanding. I would love to hear your reflections, dear one. Send me a message. Let me know what you thought of tonight's sermon. Let me know I'm not alone here. And if you were here with us live, sending you so much love and gratitude. If you're watching the replay as well, reach out. Let me know what you think. How is your pleasure journey going? Are you with us for January of Pleasure? If not, sign up. Please, please sign up. It is totally free, lots of fun. I'm having so many revelations every single day about what pleasure can offer us. Oh, it's so beautiful. And if you're in January Pleasure, hopefully I'll see you Friday for our community circle. Sending you so much love tonight. Go please yourself. Go ask for what you want. Make that list of affirmations. And I'll talk to you next week. So much love. Bye.